Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you're doing well. Um, I'm doing pretty good myself. I've been working out, or I guess not working out some issue, but planning on how to work out some issue, and it's a decently big problem for me, right? So I've been, hmm, I'm stressed, but at the same time, a little more at peace because I guess noticed a big problem, and I know how to um, I know what the next step is to accomplishing a higher level of peace and a higher level of, or I guess being able to align more of my time and energy towards my purpose of helping people find meaning and peace in their lives. So it's strange really how it works. Like I find myself constantly, I mean, I'm not in the present because a lot of the time I'm thinking about how to solve that problem, right? But at the same time, somehow I'm, I feel like a weight off my shoulders because I know that that weight is about to be off my shoulders. It's really weird how it works, but um, it's it's nice. It's nice. I'm it's just, I guess, ups and downs, right? Sometimes I'm at peace because of that. Sometimes I'm worried about how difficult it's going to be to solve this problem. Um, but we're good. We're good. It's really it's not the hardest problem to solve. It's a scary problem to solve, but it's a quick fix. It's like peeling the band-aid, or yeah, that's a saying. um, I think this video I want to talk about um, the importance of developing your thoughts and ideas and organizing your thoughts uh, through thinking, talking, journaling, writing down your thoughts. All of that is, those are all different ways to organize your mind, organize your thoughts, and have more clarity of thought, be more level-headed, clear-headed, clear-minded. You're not going to be um, so you imagine someone with ADHD, right? Where they're swinging from, their mind is jumping from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next, and they can never really do anything or think really in any level of depth, because instead of thinking about one thing for like a decent chunk of time and really developing an understanding of that idea, they're switching from three, four, five different topics and really only thinking about each one for a few, I don't know, 15 seconds at a time, let's say. And then you don't really get a good understanding of that idea before you switch to the next thing. Your mind starts to think, well, it hasn't been organized well in so long because you don't put the time in to journal, write down your thoughts, organize your mind, or really just give yourself time to think in general. So your brain thinks that there's a million different important things that need to be thought about and need to be compartmentalized in your mind, organized in your mind. Um, but like I said, you're not taking that time. So you might be swinging from thought to thought. Your brain goes, "Oh, this thought's important. This is important. I need to understand this idea better." And then when you're thinking about that, it triggers you to recall another piece of information that you haven't thought about properly yet. And then your mind goes, "Oh, that's important too." So you start thinking about that. And then again, it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again. But if you just put more time into developing these thoughts in depth and really think about specific things in depth, which can be hard, of course, if you have that monkey mind where it's jumping from one thing to the next to the next. It is something you practice. It's not like I'm just saying, yeah, just go write a 5-page essay about one idea, one of the thoughts that you think is important. That's just not how it works. But it's just not realistic, right? So, of course, what you need to do is really just write or take time to think or write about any of the thoughts on your mind, and not really be picky with whatever thoughts come to mind. Just don't be harsh on yourself, like, oh, I only thought about that thought or that idea for 15 seconds. Like, I should go more in depth. But if you can't go more in depth because you're not used to that, you haven't made a conscious effort to do that in the past, you haven't had practice doing that, excuse me, it's just not going to happen naturally. And you really want to focus on doing things more naturally and letting yourself naturally develop up to that stage where your mind is organized and you can think through things clearly and thoroughly and in depth. You don't want to make a big jump from, oh, I can only think about one thing for 15 seconds to trying to force yourself to go in like great detail about one of those ideas. It's just, you have to let yourself gradually get there. So one of the rules that I have for myself, and I think is essentially just a rule for journaling in general, to get the most out of it as you can, is to just write whatever comes to mind, and to not choose any specific idea, to not consciously say you're going to write about one thing or any certain thing, or that you want to write a certain amount about some idea before you switch topics. You just let yourself naturally come up with those ideas, naturally go from one thought to the next. Maybe it'll take you only write a few sentences about one idea before you naturally start to write about another idea. Or maybe you'll write about one idea for an entire page, and then the next idea will be however long, another page, or it could be one page and then 2 sentences. The point is, it doesn't matter how in depth you go. It's just that you're practicing going in more depth in your thoughts because you're actually taking time out of your day to think, right? Which is something, if I'm suggesting this to you and you're doing it, I'm not saying it will be your first time, because I don't know who I'm talking to, right? But in my mind, I'm assuming that, or my target audience is someone that has more ADHD, more monkey mind, jumping from one thought to another, and those types of people. Let's be honest, don't spend a ton of deliberate time thinking, right? They think all day long, but they don't say, oh, I'm going to spend 15 minutes right now thinking to organize my thoughts. So this will help develop more in-depth thoughts, or practice thinking in more depth, just because you're spending time doing only thinking, and you're not thinking while doing something, or say thinking while driving, or thinking while reading, which is a really really frustrating one, because you can't understand what you're reading at all. But thinking while watching a YouTube video, thinking while having a conversation, those are very ineffective forms of thinking. And sometimes in the past, I've convinced myself, like, oh, I think enough, I organize my thoughts, I'm thinking all day long. But if you're not, it's the deliberate time towards thinking that makes a big difference. So something that kind of got me thinking about this more is, well, I want to be a psychiatrist someday, right? So the way I think about thinking is, well, the way I think about psychiatry is that it's essentially, it's kind of hard to explain. It's essentially, so say I organize my thoughts really well because I put a ton of deliberate time into organizing my thoughts and organizing my mind outside of conversation. And I didn't say this earlier in the video, but conversation, I think I did mention talking as a way to organize your thoughts, right? So conversation is how most people organize their thoughts. They're just talking to, I guess, their friends about their problems, their coworkers about their problems, and that all helps them organize their mind. Um, but what psychiatrists do, or at least what I believe they do, I've never like talked to a psychiatrist and asked them, but what it seems very clear to me is they spend a lot of deliberate time uh, alone organizing their thoughts, so they have the ability to. So with an organized mind, you're a better listener, right? You're not trying to jump into the conversation and organize your thoughts during a conversation because your thoughts are already organized. So you can listen to the other person better and help them organize their thoughts. Because if they're doing most of the talking, they're going to be organizing their thoughts more than you, right? And so what I do is I organize my thoughts as much as I can in my free time, in my alone time when I'm not with anyone else. So I have the ability to help other people organize their thoughts. And I guess I had really good opportunities this past weekend to practice psychiatry, let's say. But really, practicing psychiatry is really just having, essentially just having conversations with people, right? But because my thoughts are organized, I'll naturally do most of the listening. So really, it's not even like I'm consciously going out and say, I'm going to practice psychiatry. I'm just talking to people. And it is, in a sense, practicing psychiatry. But I had some good, I guess, because I wasn't as stressed this weekend, and I had a busy week. I had time to do an extra journaling this weekend and organize my thoughts more. So I was better at listening specifically this weekend, right? So I had that practice. I had that time, that opportunity to do a little bit of psychiatry work. I had some conversations, in-depth conversations, and watching them go from, you could see the conversation, their mind starts really jumpy, like one topic to the next, to the next, to the next. But as the conversation gets more in depth and develops more, you can literally watch their mind become organized right in front of you. You could, if you're paying attention well enough, you could see them go from jumping from one topic to the next to staying on one topic a little bit longer to really going in depth and then talking more about their actual like in-depth problems, like their deep down problems, not just something like, oh, this coworker was being a dick. Like that's like a excuse me, a low level problem, right? It's like a surface level problem. But then deeper in the conversation, they'll talk more about, I don't know, say something like habits, just health in general, develop like discipline, ego, things like that are more in-depth problems and more in, well, I'm not sure exactly how to describe the difference, but clearly there's a big difference between just like talking about someone being rude versus talking about internal problems, right? I guess that is a way to explain it, external versus internal problems. And you could watch that develop over time and how they tend to start with external problems and go more towards internal problems if you're doing a good job listening and letting them do most of the talking so they can organize their thoughts. And like I said, as they organize their thoughts, that's how they end up naturally talking about those subjects that are very important to think about and have and develop your understanding of. If you're not like doing deep thinking about things like internal things, mental health, discipline, ego, anything along those lines, it's just, I can't even put it into words why it's so important. Well, well, if you're not thinking about those things, you don't know how to control them, I guess. You don't know how or why they control you if you don't put focus on them. You don't understand that. So they have those like mental health problems, ego, those types of things will take a hold of you if you really just don't understand them. You don't know yourself well and think in depth about who you are as a person and who you are, like your characteristics, your weaknesses and your strengths. If you don't know those things, you're not going to be able to live life as best you could. You're not going to be able to understand which steps you should be taking, which steps are best, which things and activities are going to help you the most, which, like, really how to be as happy as you can. So, I don't know. I just wanted to share what I've been learning about psychiatry, what I've been learning about listening, what I've been learning about listening, and just the power of helping others organize their thoughts and organizing your thoughts yourself. It's really a mind-blowing difference. It's a mind-opening difference. There's nothing I can really do to articulate that well enough. There's no words I could use to describe how important it is to organize your thoughts. You just have to take the leap of faith, put some time in, and start doing it yourself. Don't give up after one session, one day, because it's not immediate results, but you'll feel better. You will feel better over time. Just have faith, know deep down that it's the right thing to do. That's all you could do to start that habit. You just have to trust and then see the results. And once you see the results, you'll have more motivation to keep doing it. So it gets easier. Something I read on, like, those like little political signs that you like, say you stab into the ground in your yard like that, and then it says like vote for Biden or something. But there was a sign in my neighbor's yard. It was one of those signs, but it was talking about just things that Fred Rogers has said. And one of them that I really think is a great quote that I've never heard it articulated this way, but it said, let me pull it out of my brain. It said, listening is the first step to loving, or something like that. Love is something like that, right? Listening is the beginning of love. And I think that is an incredible quote. I think that is incredibly true. I think if you don't really feel love in your heart and begin to love things people, until you're really listening to what they have to say rather than just getting ready to jump into the conversation and say what you have to say. It's really important to improve your listening skills. So organize your mind, organize your thoughts, do the extra work, the journaling, the taking time to think, like sitting there and not intaking any information, right? Not watching a YouTube video. You're just sitting there, maybe looking at the wall, maybe laying in bed looking at the ceiling, maybe going on a walk. All those things are incredible for the mind, incredible for the soul, incredible for your health. So really, take your happiness seriously. Take your mental health seriously. Your mind. Get to it. Go organize your thoughts today.